I've been around computers all my life. I knew where the space bar and the enter key were on a keyboard by the time I was 6 months old. And I've always sort of had an entrepreneurial background too. I've sold everything from Girl Scout cookies to fruit to jam. And when I was 10, I was introduced to the internet, and it was sort of love at first sight. I'm very picky about what projects I take on. I try and take on things that are fun for me. As a guideline, I don't do any site that I don't want in my portfolio, because when people are looking through your portfolio, they're looking for a site like in their mind that they might want. They're going to go, well, I want one like that. And if you didn't enjoy designing it, then you have to do another one you didn't enjoy designing. So I try and take on sites that I enjoy and that I would love to do more of. The first thing I do when I design a website is find out what the client wants. And I find out what information they want to put on there and how they want to divide it up and who is the main audience and what the purpose of the website is. If it was for educational purposes, then you have to take a different approach, because the user is there for a purpose to learn, and you want to be able to give the information to them as easily as possible. The most well-designed websites are very fast-loading on any kind of browser or internet connection, and they're easily navigated. The navigation stays the same. You don't have to figure out how to navigate every time you switch to a different page. When I develop a website, I usually figure out what information I have to present, and I brainstorm on paper what kind of a layout would be good to present the information and what kind of sections you can divide it into. When you're breaking up information, you want to try and group it with subject-related matter. You can, if you're doing a website on how to design websites, you could break it up as far as programming language issues, design issues, and usability issues. You have to have black text on white background, especially for informational sites, because that's the easiest to read. When you do anything else, it often hurts people's eyes to read like white text on a black background. And you want to keep it in as narrow as a column as possible, because it's proven that people's attention span is longer when they don't have to read all the way across the screen, and when they have it broken up in shorter bits and pieces instead of one long huge paragraph. Graphics should be used sparingly, only when you absolutely need them. If a good way to decide whether or not you need a graphics, if it can be done in text, you should have it in text, not in a graphic. A lot of people don't have very fast internet connections, and the extra graphics slows them down. We designed eBiz for Teens to educate young people about entrepreneurship and to encourage them and inspire them to start their own e-businesses. eBiz for Teens is myself, and I'm the team leader, and I'm the one who thought of the idea, since I've run my own e-business since I was 10. And one of my teammates is a good friend of mine named Jory Hannes. We found out about Makonnen when he was appointed the youth technology consultant, and he made international headlines everywhere. And a couple months later, when I was looking to put together a team, I called him up and asked him if he wanted to be a part of eBiz for Teens. When I was designing this site, one of my teammates for the site is from Jamaica. He's from a third world country, and he does not have the same kind of technology that we do in the U.S. And I designed it so that anybody with any kind of technology experience and capabilities could use the site. I used very bright colors to distinguish the different sections, and I used, words that divided into the main sections I was talking about, like this is the information, these are the resources that you can go and visit to learn more, and this is the interactive section where you can play games and interact with other people who are interested in the same thing. When I was designing it, I also kept in mind that a lot of people in a third world country have extremely slow internet connections. I mean, this front page is under 30K, which loads in like 10 or 15 seconds on almost any internet connection. Since our site also uses graphics sparingly, like I was talking about, most of it is made up as text, so we translated it into 8 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, German, French, Italian, Serbian, Jamaican, and English. And the sitemap gives you a basic idea of what is where. and we have the introduction page and the features and the knowledge, and it gives a short description about what you will find in those sections. I tried to use the least confusing navigation system as possible, and the 4 main links are here across the top. You can go back to the home page, you can go to the feature section, the knowledge section, and the interactive section. There are more links at the bottom, which you don't necessarily need them to navigate the site. I also established up front in the navigation system that each section had a different color. And in the feature section, you'll see that at the top of the page, the letters are blue. And in the knowledge section, they're yellow. And interactive, they're orange. So you can always tell what page you're on by just looking at the color that is at the top of the page. I hyperlinked the name of the section so that you can go straight to the section after you read the description, so you wouldn't have to navigate the rest of the site and find it again. Well, when I was writing the content for this site, I had to work really hard to establish the right voice, because a lot of what I was doing was going to be seen in a third world country, and they might not understand some of the vocabulary I used. So I tried to keep a real casual voice and writing my content, and I put a lot of jokes and a lot of fun stuff to keep the reader's interest. And I tried not to use too many slang words because they didn't translate well when I was, using the automatic online translator to put our site in different languages. So I had to work hard to get, a happy medium. In the words that they might not know off the top of their head, that it might not be a common word for them, I gave definitions that they would understand. I defined e-business and e-commerce, and I defined business and commerce just in case they didn't know exactly what it meant. We worked really hard to make the site accessible to everybody, and not only teenagers use our site, there's a lot of adults that come to our site and read it, and they like it because it's not in a total, technobabble sort of form. eBiz for Teens was one of the first informational websites that I did, and I was sort of having to find out what it takes to be a good information website. And this was one of the designs that I initially created. I didn't use it for a lot of reasons. One, because it has a black background, and the white text in large bold makes it hard to read and it strains your eyes. But also because the background image is huge. It took a minute or more to load on a regular internet connection, and that just wasn't going to fly. And we had the navigation. We had no navigation on the top. All the navigation was on the bottom. So while you were inside of the site, it was really hard to navigate. You couldn't find the basic links. This is also one of the other eBiz for Teens websites that we did not use. And we didn't use it because it wasn't fun enough. It didn't keep your attention. And also because the navigation elements weren't really clear. They were just text links at the top. And, it wasn't a good way to keep the user's attention and help them find where they want to go. And it's just a word. There's no description, and there's no color coding. There's no way to really distinguish each of the sections. And there's no text links on the bottom for graphics that we did have to use. When I first got on the internet, all I wanted to do was spend all day researching horses, because that was my main interest at the time. And that's how I learned how to search the web and how to find information on the web and really how to use the web. And then I started designing my own websites, which was when I created my business, because I found out that I really enjoyed designing websites. But 6 years ago, there was no sites about how to learn HTML or how to create a website. There was no concrete stuff out there to tell you exactly how to become a web designer. So I had to sort of learn by example. I went to a lot of sites and looked at their HTML code and found out well, this does this and that does that, and I started using it in my own HTML creations and combining things and just seeing. I was sort of learning by trial and error. And, you really have to do the same thing. You have to find out where your interests lie and find out how you can use them on the internet. And, searching on the internet is one of the most powerful tools you can have, because you can find anything. And, when you want to become if you want to become a web designer, just go out there and search how to design a website, and you'll be amazed at how much stuff you find. You don't have to wait around for somebody to teach you. You don't have to take a class on it. You can learn by yourself. You can teach yourself. You know what I always say is if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. And, you know, that's my basic philosophy.